Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to our frequently asked questions series. My name is Sheena, and today I'm going to be answering the question, can I roll over a 401k while still working? The short answer to that is yes. It's called an in-service distribution, but there's a lot of considerations. You'll want to understand the logistics, how to do it, also the advantages, why you'll do this or why you would consider, and the disadvantages. Why would you wait? And that's probably the most important thing to think about. So let's talk about what the process looks like. First of all, you have to confirm that you're eligible to do it. This is outlined in the 401k's summary plan description. Not all plans allow for it, but most do. So figure out if you're eligible. Next, you'll need to open an IRA account. So doing an in-service distribution means that you're moving funds through a rollover process from the 401k to an IRA, an individual retirement account. Then you'll need to initiate the transfer. If you're working with a financial advisor, typically they would assist with this and make it pretty seamless. And you would first contact the custodian of your 401k to understand the process of that rollover from the 401k to the IRA. Then you'll have to think about what assets you want to move. Typically, there are different types of monies within the 401k plan. You might have pre-tax money, you might have Roth money, different investments, and you need to understand and what your options are with where to pull from and what the maximum allowed amount is to move from the 401k to the IRA. And then, of course, you'll need to review taxes. There are tax implications. Doing a rollover transaction simply is a transfer of money and is non-taxable. But if you take a withdrawal where that check is paid directly to you, it could be taxable, and you'll want to be very careful with that. So let's talk about the advantages. Why do it? There's a lot of reasons why you might consider this. The greatest one, or just the most frequent one that I see, is I'm typically meeting with a client. They're nearing retirement, they're maybe age 55 plus, and they're thinking more closely about their retirement planning, having more oversight on their investments, just the trust that comes along with working with a financial advisor and having someone, really have more control over those investments versus having to do it yourself. But let's go through these. So the first one is expanded investment options. So when you're in a 401k plan, your only options are, what they provide for you. And if you move the funds from the 401k to an IRA, you've got, the entire universe of securities and investments to choose from. So the expanded investment options is a big plus. Fees and cost control. You'll want to do a fee comparison between your 401k and the new IRA that you're considering. So depending on what fees are associated, whether there's administrative fees, investment fees, any other kind of advisory fees, there is the potential to lower what fees you're paying, or at least considering what kind of value that you're getting for what you're paying. And greater transparency. So sometimes in 401ks, you can't always see what fees are being charged. And in an IRA, you may be able to with a greater understanding of what's going on. Consolidated planning. Everything in one place. A lot of people that I work with like to have things simple, especially as you're moving into retirement. The opportunity to consolidate, have everything all together. The opportunity for considering different advanced planning strategies. Oftentimes a financial advisor, they can't access your 401k or include that money in the planning. And so this is a big plus. And that often comes with some peace of mind, just having that planning component. Also, greater support. Customer service varies widely between companies, and 401ks, you are going at it alone, calling those 1-800 numbers. And depending on where you're considering moving and doing the in-service distribution to, you might have greater customer service with that new platform or the financial advisory team that you're working with. And disadvantages. It's very important to think about what the disadvantages are, because once you do a in-service distribution, it can't be undone. So we'll go through these considerations as well. Creditor protection. 401ks, employer plans are covered by a federal ERISA protection. And so if you're going through bankruptcy, or if there's other reasons why you would be concerned about creditor protection, typically that is greater inside a 401k. Fees and cost control. I had this same bullet point on the last slide, but fees could go up and increase if you move onto a different platform. So you just really want to understand what the differences in cost are. 401k loan access. 401ks oftentimes come with the ability to take a loan out on that money. You will need to think about and understand your eligibility and if your plan provides for that. But if you're planning to take a loan, you'll need to do so in the 401k because you cannot take loans on IRAs. Early retirement penalties. So the rule of 55, you may have heard that if you separate from your employer, retire, or leave employment after the age of 55, you oftentimes can access that money and take withdrawals free of penalties. So that's a huge benefit. You cannot do that inside of an IRA. The magical age for taking money out of an IRA penalty free is 59 and a half. So if you're retiring early and you want access to those funds, you may want to consider leaving that money in the 401k. And finally, if you own company stock, there is a tax provision called net unrealized appreciation. And if you own a publicly traded company inside of your 401k, you've owned it for a long time, it's appreciated greatly in that time that you've been with the company, there may be some significant tax benefits and tax strategies to take advantage of. If you roll that stock from the 401k into the IRA, those tax advantages, that strategy is gone. So be very careful with that. So we've been through a lot, going through the advantages, the disadvantages, the process of doing an in-service distribution or taking funds out of the 401k while still working. And if you have any questions, please reach out. I'm happy to talk about your situation, but I hope that this information is an aid in helping you feeling more informed and making those decisions. Thanks for tuning in.